Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right guys, it's Saturday. Happy 4th of July. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. I'm sure that a lot of you are probably out enjoying fireworks if they're having them in your area. But I thought that I would bring a video anyway, and I was planning on doing 2 tonight. That didn't really work out so well for me today because I did have some other things that needed to be done. However, tomorrow I am planning on bringing 2 videos just to get caught up with the news, because there's news happening so quickly now. I mean, I've probably got about 4 videos worth of news, and I know that by the time I get to them, it's not going to be news anymore. There'll be new news. So anyway, I'm going to bring a video about the news tonight. That's on tap for tonight. And tomorrow, I am going to dedicate it to the news. Of course, if Q posts, then we'll have to do that as well. So, all right. Well, here we go. I do have some people to thank, but I'm going to leave that to the end and get right into it. All right. And I do appreciate all of you guys that contribute in one way or another, be it through prayers or encouragement or through Patreon or coffee. I do appreciate all of you. And even those that are not able to contribute, you're more than welcome here always. So let's just pick up from the beginning here. All right, this from Donald Trump Jr., and he's responding to Richard Grenell. Richard Grenell said, a very real question should be asked by real journalists. Did some U.S. media outlets encourage people to not take a drug that could have saved their lives, all because they hate Trump? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And, you know, those of us that were following all this, as you know, we knew that why they were doing it. We knew why they were, making this big deal about hydrochloroquine. And I mean, it's a drug that has been around for 45 years or more and has a safety and efficacy record. It just hadn't been used for COVID before, but the drug itself was safe. So why they wouldn't have at least let people try it, because you've got the right to try law in effect now in the United States. So it doesn't make any sense to me. The only way it makes sense is if you look at it from the perspective of they hate Trump, and if Trump suggests it, well, they're all going to be against it. The other reason probably is because they wanted it to spread. They wanted it to, be as bad as it possibly could be. So, of course, they didn't want a drug that could stop it in its tracks or could be taken prophylactically to prevent getting the virus. Anyway, Donald Trump Jr. responds to Richard Grenell and says, retweet, if you look forward to the studies on how many lives could have been saved if the media didn't haphazardly try to downplay a drug that seems to have saved a lot of lives simply because they wanted to hurt Donald Trump. And there's much truth there. And let's continue on to Chuck Woolery. Was it white supremacy when Obama visited Mount Rushmore? How about Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton? Oh no, only President Trump. Stupid people saying stupid things. We hear you, hypocritical Democrats. Because, of course, now they are saying that, Trump visited a monument to 2 former slave owners, and it was, white supremacists, and, he was appealing to white supremacists, and just on and on and on and on they went. But of course, Obama went there. Nothing of the sort was said to him. Bernie Sanders went there. Hillary Clinton went there. Why didn't they have any of that to say back then? Why is it only now? Well, we all know the answer to that. And here we have DD. Mount Rushmore is a monument to slave owners on land stolen from Native Americans. And that was a direct quote from CNN. Mount Rushmore represents the best of what the United States has to offer, a monument to 4 great presidents. That was also CNN in 2016. And she puts below, CNN, whatever fits the narrative. Exactly. They're not news. They are not news, and they should not label themselves as news because they are not giving the news at all. They're giving their opinions. That's what they're giving. And I don't know about you, but I really don't care about their opinions. I want to know what happens. That's it. I don't care about what their personal bias are and all that. I just don't care. But I just find that very interesting that in 4 years, their opinion can change so much. I mean, first they thought it was the best of what the States has to offer, a monument to 4 great presidents. Now, 4 years later, because it was Donald Trump that visited it, oh, it's a monument to slave owners on land stolen from Native Americans. Yeah. Says a lot about the times that we're living in. It definitely does. All right, now let's look at this. Now I've got important besides so much stuff, and I've got a lot of news, but I'm just gonna take it as it comes and pick up the rest of it tomorrow because, you know, I can't pick and choose or else I'm just gonna lose more time. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, this is very interesting. Shocking. Massive CDC fraud discovered. CDC bogus reports keeps U.S. shut down. Reporting shows apparent CDC effort to keep the country shut down throughout the summer. Now, we're not surprised. We've known this all along, that they were fudging numbers and giving faulty data. I mean, we've known this, and we knew it was some kind of game, and we knew it was probably related to the election, right? Because they want the country shut down so that they can have an excuse for mail-in ballots. The people I know that like math, science, and engineering do so because there are some hard facts and data that can be relied upon. This allows for accurate forecasts, formulations, and weight loads for maximum results. For people like me who could care less about these areas, generally we rely on the results from these professionals' acumen and don't give them a second thought. And that's true for most people. Until you take a statistics course, I had to take a statistics course for my psychology degree, and I'm telling you, once you take a statistics course, you realize that numbers lie quite convincingly, and you can make the numbers say just about anything you want. So this is why the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, shockingly inaccurate handling of the Chinese virus has created confusion nationwide. Their original assessment of the risk to the USA, subsequent modeling, changing position on the correct personal protective equipment needed, and how actual new case testing results have been a disaster, with government officials from the White House to city mayors depending on CDC's new virus case data to create reopening plans for their citizens. The frustration of what multiple news sources are reporting is very disturbing. The CDC's method of reporting the number of active cases is totally flawed. It is fraudulent. The CDC counts individuals who show that they had the Chinese coronavirus if they're counts of individuals who are identified currently with the virus. I'm sorry, I think I misread that. The CDC counts individuals who show that they had the Chinese coronavirus in their counts of individuals who are identified currently with the virus. This data is then used by states to determine whether to open or shut down their economies. From the Gateway Pundit on May 21st, 2020, The Atlantic reported that the CDC was overcounting the number of cases of individuals with the coronavirus. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is conflating the results of 2 different types of coronavirus tests, distorting several important metrics and providing the country with an inaccurate picture of the state of the pandemic. We've learned that the CDC is making, at best, a debilitating mistake, combining test results that diagnose current coronavirus infections with test results that measure whether someone has ever had the virus. The upshot is that the government's disease-fighting agency is overstating the country's ability to test people who are sick with COVID-19. The agency confirmed to The Atlantic on Wednesday that it is mixing the results of viral and antibody tests, even though the 2 tests reveal different information and are used for different reasons. And that is exactly why President Trump keeps saying, well, the numbers are going up because the testing is increasing. And it makes sense because the tests are being, well, the data is being mixed up. They're testing people for antibodies and they're testing people for COVID. Well, you can have the antibodies because you may have received it and been asymptomatic. And so that doesn't really count as new cases, but yet they're being counted as new cases. And that is why Donald Trump is continually putting the emphasis on the death rate and saying, yes, but the deaths are going down. The deaths have decreased significantly. The death rates keep going down exponentially. That's why he keeps saying that, because it's true. And yet people, make fun of him and say, oh, well, he needs to listen to science and blah, blah, blah. When all along, I can't even count on all my fingers and my toes how many times in the last 3 years Donald Trump has said something, people have made fun of him and poo-pooed him, and it's been in the news and everything, and then we find out he's right. Just like about hydrochloroquine. We knew he was right all along, but nobody would believe it. Well, he was right, and he's right about this as well. So, yeah. This is not, and people never apologize. When they find out that he's been right, they never go back and say, oh, I guess he was right after all. No, they never do that. They never apologize. Of course not. This is not merely a technical error. States have set quantitative guidelines for reopening their economies based on these flawed data points. Several states, including Pennsylvania, the site of one of the country's largest outbreaks, as well as Texas, Georgia, and Vermont, are blending the data in the same way. Virginia likewise mixed viral and antibody test results until last week, but it reversed course, and the governor apologized for the practice after it was covered by the Richmond Times-Dispatch and The Atlantic. Maine simply separated its data on Wednesday. Vermont authorities claimed they didn't even know they were doing this. And I believe that. I do believe that they didn't know. To me, there are only nefarious reasons why these two categories would be merged, giving the impression the virus is spreading. These numbers have been used by governors in California, Texas, and Florida to roll back some areas of their state due to the spike in cases. With states remaining partially closed, the economy would not fully rebound until after the November elections, which is what they want, right? With the judiciary more and more political and increasingly the sciences, more and more political and increasingly the sciences, it leaves, that doesn't make sense, but it leaves we the people without parts of the government in which we can trust. Well, there's not many parts of the government we've been able to trust, and hopefully that will get better as the arrests continue. At least that's what I think we're all hoping for. It's certainly what I'm hoping for. And let's go back now and let's look at this. Something else that's very important to look at. Exclusive. Plans for contact tracing and coronavirus traced to 2017, 2 years before the outbreak. Now, this is quite fresh, 6 hours ago. So it doesn't get any fresher than that. Well, it does get a little fresher than that, but not much. The origins of coronavirus and the global planning for contact tracing have been traced to meetings in Wuhan, China in September 2017, 2 years before the outbreak of the virus, according to revelations on the Thomas Paine podcast and the More Paine Show on Subscribestar and Patreon. Also, Paine reveals the likely endgame of Bill and Melinda Gates' push to pump vaccines into you, your children, your loved ones, which started to take shape in China in September 2017, and it is beyond disturbing. Well, yeah, it would be, because of course we were all led to believe that this just, appeared on the scene, although I think we all know better than that. I think we all knew better than that right from the start. But, yeah. So there you go. They were thinking and planning for this 2 years ago. What does that tell you? It tells me that it was planned. Okay. Let's go back now and go to the next one, and of course, we all are aware of this, that Elaine Maxwell has been arrested. And we know, of course, from Q that was the number 9 marker. That is the arrest that's going to open up everything. It's going to really, really open people's eyes, because there are so many big names tied to Elaine Maxwell. I mean, how powerful does one have to be to have a picture of themselves on the throne at Buckingham Palace? Tell me, how powerful do you have to be to get a picture like that? Really? So yeah, she's tied to all sorts of important people, big Hollywood names. So I think that people are going down. And of course, we've seen the pictures of Ellen with her little ankle bracelet and Oprah with her little ankle bracelet. Why, even Prime Minister Trudeau had an ankle bracelet, and the Trudeau that we're seeing now has snaggle teeth. Well, the Trudeau that I always knew had perfectly straight, white, even teeth. And now all of a sudden he has a beard and snaggle teeth. And I think the beard is probably to take attention away from the teeth. So what is going on there? I don't know. But there's a lot of people that have been under arrest. And the Hanks, what about that? All connected, all connected. So this is really, like, talk about getting a big fish. And if we believe Q, and I do in this case, this is the actual big fish. Not so much Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, he was a big fish, but she's even bigger. So I happen to believe that she was his handler. That's what I believe. And she, of course, well, I won't get into that because it's not provable at this point, but it'll be proved. What I was going to say, which I didn't say. Okay. The charges against Jeffrey Epstein, longtime confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, have been unsealed by the Justice Department, and they're stunning. Maxwell was arrested Thursday morning by the FBI, and now she faces 2 counts of conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, 2 counts of conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, and 2 counts of perjury. And I'm not going to go through this because we've looked at this before, and this is old news by now, and it's only 2 days old. It's old news because, I mean, I think everybody's heard this now, especially if you are following all this stuff. And there's really nothing new in here, so I'm just, at this point, we have so much to get to that I'm going to skip that because we are well aware of what's going on there. And let's look at this. Woman claims Ghislaine Maxwell raped her 20 to 30 times, willing to testify. She is just as evil as Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, I have no doubt at all. Jane Doe claims years of sexual abuse came to an end only after she became pregnant with Jeffrey Epstein's baby. A woman who claims Ghislaine Maxwell raped her dozens of times beginning when she was 14 years old says she is willing to take the stand and testify against Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend. In an exclusive interview with Fox News, Jane Doe, who wishes to protect her identity, said Maxwell sexually abused her beginning in 1991 in Florida. She said the abuse continued until she was 16. Maxwell was arrested Thursday on federal charges for facilitating and participating in sexual abuse acts with minors. She did rape me. I would say it's more like 20 or 30 times, she said. She is just as evil as Jeffrey Epstein. She is a rapist. Jane Doe claims years of sexual abuse came to an end only after she became pregnant with Jeffrey Epstein's baby. At age 16, she had an abortion. I have never been with anyone except for him, Epstein, said Doe, who is part of a lawsuit filed against Epstein's estate over a year ago. The fact that I had to kill my child really affected me and my family. No doubt. Suspecting that she had told her grandparents about the abortion and fearful she would talk to authorities, Doe said Maxwell, Epstein, and others gang raped her one last time as punishment. Ghislaine was a part of it, Doe said. I was drugged after the rape. Doe said a driver with a gun drove her to her home. I was dumped off in my grandparents' yard naked and was told that I wouldn't come back alive the next time, Doe said. Fearful for her life, Doe said her grandfather put her into hiding. She dropped out of high school. I basically kind of vanished, she said. Ms. Maxwell was a participant, and she made it very clear that I was to keep my mouth shut or harm would come to my family and myself, and harm did come to me. Raised by her grandparents in Florida, Doe said that she was recruited in 1991 by a friend and introduced to Maxwell and Epstein, who promised to help her with her modeling career. That happens a lot. Maxwell would pick her up from school in her grandparents' house, she said. She was given a pager, and Maxwell would take her shopping and buy her Louis Vuitton purses, Doe added, but those days would eventually turn to sexual abuse. A virgin and a child at the time, Doe explained, Maxwell would use toys and penetrate her with her fingers. When this started, she told me that Epstein was getting upset because I kept bleeding, and that she was helping so that it wouldn't hurt so much because it should be satisfying. So she was really intricately involved in grooming these young women, and it's awful. It's awful. She claimed Maxwell was not always in the room when she was abused by Epstein, but that when she was, it was to teach her how to satisfy the convicted pedophile. It was her more or less coaching, Joe said. Do it this way and do it that way, because once you become a model, this is what they're going to expect from you. When reaching for comment by Fox News Channel about these specific allegations, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, Larry Vogelman, said no comment. Maxwell has denied sexual misconduct allegations. Right. From Epstein's accusers. Oh, I'm sure all these hundreds of girls are just making it up. In prior civil lawsuits against her, on Thursday, the FBI raided Maxwell's $1 million home in Bradford, New Hampshire. She faces 6 federal charges stemming from accusations from 3 women who claim Maxwell not only recruited and groomed them for Epstein, but accuses her of sexually abusing minors too. She is an evil person. I don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein could have obtained the magnitude of victims that he had it not been for her, Doe said. She destroyed what was supposed to be the best years of my life, being a teenager and being a cheerleader. And that is, it's awful. I do believe that, you know, these women wouldn't have, probably if it was just Epstein doing it, he wouldn't have been able to get as many women, but because she is a woman and probably earned the trust of these women, that is how she was able to abuse them and so forth. Anyway, Jane Doe said she is absolutely willing to help New York federal prosecutors by serving as a witness against Maxwell. I would definitely take the stand and testify because I believe she deserves to be where she is today, and she deserves to stay there for the rest of her life, Doe said. I hope by me coming forward, it encourages other victims. Attorney Jordan Merson, who represents Jane Doe and 8 other Epstein accusers, filed a lawsuit against Epstein's estate on their behalf over a year ago. According to Merson, Jane Doe's grandparents have corroborated her allegations against Maxwell. So, and there's more here, but I think I'm going to leave it there. Doe said she's hopeful and prayerful that Maxwell makes it to her trial without incident. Unlike Epstein, who was found dead in his jail cell from a suicide, she agrees with prosecutors who characterize Maxwell as an extreme flight risk and are calling for bail to be revoked. She obviously has serious connections, multiple passports, Doe said. I just feel like if for any reason she could have her way out of jail, she would be gone and no one would find her. That's probably correct. All right. So let's go back, and because there is so much to get to, and let's look at this. Shouldn't really surprise us because Oprah Winfrey is on that list of people that have been to Epstein Island. Yes, she is. Oprah Winfrey ordered to stand trial in case linked to sex abuse scandal at her all-girls school. Now, this is actually from March 17th, 2010. So I don't know why this is actually in my feed, to tell you the truth, but I'm not going to read it now because I'm not sure what happened with that. I'm going to have to look into that. But yeah, that's not even recent. So I don't know. I must have been, I don't know. I don't have an excuse for it. Okay, so let's look at this. this is also extremely important. New intel, Communist China providing automatic weapons to Antifa, Black Lives Matter, some stored in Democrat-run government buildings, including East End Complex Capitol Building in Sacramento, Block 174. Now, I don't know if you guys, I happened to catch it, and it made my blood run cold. And it looked like the Black Panthers there in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and marching. There looked to be, well, gosh, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of them, armed to the teeth and asking, actually, you know, challenging white supremacists and rednecks to come and fight them. So I had heard, now that we're here, I had heard that their plan is to start a new civil war tonight. That's what I'd heard. And I pray that I'm wrong, but I'm seeing a lot of these, they look like full armies. They're all dressed in black, they're armed to the teeth, and they're marching. And, you know, they don't look to be causing any problems, and maybe they won't. I pray there won't be any problems. But I can assure you that if any white people show up, there's going to be all-out war there, because I would be staying out of their way is what I would be doing. But anyway, if you are seeing this in your area, please put it in the comments below. Don't put anything racially disparaging or anything else, because we just don't want to get into that. I don't want to add to the problem. I really don't. We all see what's happening. We see that they are trying to force us into this. I don't think any of us feel that way. Really, I think that they are trying to magnify this. They're trying to hype it up and get the country at each other's throats. They're trying to divide us. But we're all Americans. We all have red blood in our veins, and so I just don't want to be part of the problem. But if you're seeing any unrest, civil unrest in your area, could you please put it in the comments below and just say what kind of unrest that you are seeing? Is there looting? Is there arson? Are they just peacefully marching? Or what are you seeing? Of course, nobody can see everything at once, and so we have the advantage of being a lot of people in a lot of different places, so we can report. And if you're not seeing anything, if you're in an area where everything is peaceful, just say so. It's peaceful here. Because I really would like to get kind of a feel for what is happening out there. All right, so this doesn't surprise me. It's very evident that this so-called army is armed to the teeth, and you know, somebody's arming them. Somebody is paying these people. Well, we know partly who it is, but they are definitely wanting war in America. They want civil war. We have bombshell new intel to share with you today that connects some recent dots on the emerging violence and civil war attempt from Black Lives Matter, the militant terrorism wing of the Democratic Party. Summary of what you'll find in this article. Communist China is supplying full auto AR-15 mods to Black Lives Matter militants in America, and a shipment was recently interdicted by Custom and Border Protection. California Governor Newsom is involved in a $1 trillion money laundering operation with Communist China to keep him in power. Anyone surprised there? No. He's funneling taxpayer money to China, and they're laundering it and funneling money back to him. See Los Angeles Times link below. Using the laundered money, Governor Newsom is stockpiling automatic weapons, ammunition, and gold in the underground storage complex at 1616 Capitol Ave in Sacramento. The East End Complex building, Block 174, sourced from a former employee who worked there. Governor Newsom is plotting with China to have communist troops invade America via California and other states, and to overrun and occupy the United States, turning it over to communist Chinese rule. And what does he think will happen when the Chinese, you know, if this actually went through and the Chinese invaded and took over America? What do you think, that he'd be the king or something? Like, what does he think? He doesn't think that they're going to double cross him too and execute him? Like, give me a break. These people are not smart people. They're not. They're criminals. They're smart criminals, but okay. So, China's EMP weapons, developed using technology stolen from the USA, are planned to be the first wave Pearl Harbor event that sets it all off. Official report to the White House, see link below, or visit emptaskforce.us. There's a link for you, emptaskforce.us. Obama helped set up a civilian military force using Operation Fast and Furious gun smuggling to arm the narcos. Those same narcos are now being trained by communist Chinese military instructors and are prepared to invade America with the aid of heavy weapons. DHS sources via Hodges, link below. The civil war America is facing won't be lightly armed soy boys, but rather heavily armed, full auto-wielding Black Lives Matter militants, Mexican narco gangs, and communist Chinese troops operating under the protection of Governor Newsom. Hundreds of companies across corporate America are now directly funding or overtly supporting Black Lives Matter terrorists as part of this civil war effort to destroy America. And, you know, that's what I say. Like, when you are giving your money to Black Lives Matter, do you really know where it's going to? You don't, because it's going into, you know, well, first it's going through Act Blue. They're giving it back to the Democrats, but how do we know how much money is going into arming them and so forth, and training, all that? We begin with the recent news that China was caught attempting to smuggle 10,800 assault weapons parts, which can easily be put together, into Louisville, Kentucky. This news was announced by U.S. Customs and Border Protection on June 26, 2020. As the Express Consignment Operations Hub in Louisville, U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers seized a shipment from China that contained over 10,000 assault weapon parts being smuggled into the country. The shipment was seized on May 22nd. Officers inspected the item, which was arriving from Shenzhen, China, destined for a residence in Melbourne, Florida. The parcel was manifested as containing 100 steel pin samples. This is common practice of smugglers manifesting the contraband as a harmless or legitimate commodity in hopes of eluding further examination. The official CBP announcement did not offer any specifics on what exactly the assault weapons parts were, but we have since learned from another source that the parts were drop-in full auto-load mods for AR-15 rifles. Yeah, full auto drop-in parts are very simple but highly illegal parts which turn a semi. Okay, I think we're all aware of that. This means China was sending 10,800 full auto rifle mods to Melbourne, Florida, which no doubt serves as a distribution hub for moving these pieces nationwide. You might reasonably wonder then why China would be sending full auto rifle mods to the USA. The answer is that China supports the civil war attempt by Black Lives Matter, and China is coordinating with BLM terrorists to arm up their militant troops across the country, upgrading their legally acquired AR-15 weapons to full auto status, which makes them far more formidable in a kinetic assault. Melbourne, Florida is known as human trafficking, drug trafficking, and weapon trafficking mecca, with smuggling routes that are well established across both land and water. With easy access to both Orlando and Miami airports, contraband that comes into Melbourne is easy to distribute across the USA within days. The human trafficking is so bad in Melbourne that every law enforcement officer works the area has had contact with human trafficking operations there. We now believe that some of these full auto weapon mods end up under the control of Democrat governors like Newsom, the California governor who actively seeks to see America destroyed. Several weeks ago, we learned from a source in California that the East End complex, Block 174 of the Capitol building in Sacramento, California, has a vast underground storage complex that consists of multiple floors, much like a giant underground parking garage. The construction alone cost $250 million. This project is an ambitious multi-block mixed-use development to consolidate the headquarters operation of 3 major departments of California state government. 6,400 employees of the Department of Health Services, Education, and General Services are housed in the 5-building, 1.5 million square foot development, along with 1,500 parking spaces. The Department of Health and Services and General Services are housed in the second portion of the Capital Area East End complex, known as Block 171 to 174. This design team is made up of Clark Construction and Gruen Architects, who completed this $225.6 million complex. So, if that doesn't drop your jaw, nothing will ever. Not that it's surprising, it's not surprising in the least. It's mildly terrifying, but not surprising. Now, we need to stay in constant prayer for this country. We really do. And, I say that as I spent a good portion of most of my adult life in the States, and I hope to return. I'm still actually a legal resident, and I hope to return. But, if any country needs fervent prayer, it's the United States of America. And, just watching some things tonight, news-wise, catching up on Twitter and so forth, and with some alternative news sources, and just seeing the American flag, they had it down and they were like just dancing on it and stuff. And or seeing it burned, it literally brings tears to my eyes. I can't stand it. It's so disrespectful to the men and women that gave their lives for the freedom of this country. I don't know. It floors me. It floors me. And yes, I'm a foreigner. I was born in Canada, and spent all my growing up years here now. But I don't know. I always had an appreciation. We traveled every year to the States. My mom was a teacher, and we took the summers and we traveled, and we would visit all over the States. And I always loved it. And I always told my mom, I'm going to live in the States. And she said, no, you're not. How could you go and live in the States? And it wasn't easy, let me tell you. It's easier for the Mexicans than it is for the Canadians. But anyway, I love America. I absolutely love it. I see the flag and my heart just swells. And I loved the president's speech last night. I couldn't believe that. In reading some of the news reports afterwards, I was thinking, you couldn't have been listening to the same thing I was, because I thought it was absolutely awe-inspiring. But anyway, let's move on now and see how much we can get to before I have to quit. I am going to take in the eclipse tonight, so don't want to miss that. All right, and let's look at this. It's very, very interesting. You'll need to see this. This is by Cambry. She said, my parents' friends went to get tested for coronavirus. They waited in line for 2 hours and then decided to leave without getting tested. Hours later, they got a phone call saying they tested positive. They are lying about coronavirus numbers in Texas. Quite disgusting. And that's not the first time I've heard something like that. And this person says, I'm hearing more and more of this happening. It's not right. And no, it's not. And yeah, wasn't it the guy, where was it? What country was that? Where he sent a bunch of tests off. He tested a pawpaw fruit and was it a goat? And I don't know what all he tested, but they all came back positive. Yeah. Anyway, and it says, my friend took her hubby to ER for chest pains. They did a COVID test. County Health Department called him, told him he was positive. They called the hospital to find out what they needed to do, and the hospital checked his records, and his results were actually negative. This happened this week. So this is not just a few things here and there. It's happening to a lot of people. And this person said it's happening in my community here in Texas as well. So, yeah. It's frightening how we are being railroaded. My mom actually knows a nurse in San Francisco who was giving COVID tests. After each test came back positive, she got suspicious, so she sent in 2 separate blank tests, unused swab. They both came back positive. What the hell is going on? It's beyond greed and money for hospitals. We are being controlled and manipulated beyond anything we could ever imagine. And that happens to be my stance on it all. Yes, there is a real virus. There is. But their numbers are way, way, way off. Way off. Just for reasons like that. Plus, they're counting, severe colds and everything else as COVID. If you have COVID, you have COVID. If you don't have COVID, you still have COVID. That's basically how they're treating it, Anyway, let's, this is from a nurse in Lubbock. I know it's scary to hear there is a rise in COVID cases, but here it is, folks. There is not an increase in cases. We are just testing 100 times the amount of people we were a month ago. A month ago, I couldn't get a patient tested without jumping through hoops. Now, I've had 7 different lab companies offer to come in and do free facility-wide testing because the state is paying them for each test. It's revenue for them, and they are pushing it on everyone. However, I got a call today that our testing for Tuesday is canceled because the state has put a pause on state-funded testing. Why, you ask? Because they are shutting things down again and want it to appear as if it works. There will be no mass testing while we are back in lockdown, and the increase in hospitalizations, the hospital gets $7,000+ for every COVID case they manage. Feel free to share, and that's the truth. So let's go back now because I do want to get to a few more things before I have to quit for tonight. And okay, what is this? Oh yes. Says breaking, Malik Obama, brother of former President Obama, has tweeted a birth certificate indicating Barack Obama was born in Kenya. Well, how many of us didn't know that? I think we all knew. I mean, he even admitted he was from Kenya, and he was caught on video saying he was from Kenya. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, if true, this would address the long-standing speculation that the former president was actually an illegitimate president. Well, I think we're all quite aware that he was an illegitimate president in more ways than one. All right. And none of it had anything to do with his color. Not a thing. If there is a black man or a woman that is qualified, then by all means. But he most certainly was not. Okay, now let's look at this. Some of this is not as important as others. What is this? Oh, yes. It says, this is by T. Rose Dreams. I know she listens to this show. And what evil crap is this, she asks, and rightfully so. Now, this is very hard to see, and I will make it bigger, but listen to what this guy is saying. Now, let me go back here. I know this is very small, and for you tiny phone people, it's a challenge. I get it. But let's listen.
If you believe in one another, and if you do the right thing for yourself and your community, things will get better in this country. You don't need help from above. It's with us. CNN tonight.
Oh, wait. Did he just say you don't need help from above? Yeah, that's what he just said. He just told Americans, you don't need help from above. Now, is that his job? Really? You don't need help from above. Why would you do that? Especially in a time like this when people are worried and looking for comfort. Just I mean, it's right there in your face. You don't need God. And, you know, I'm starting to get increasingly angry about the churches being closed. Here, you know, the mall's open. You can go get your nails done. You can get your hair done. You can go get a massage. You can go to the liquor store. You can go to the reservation and buy all the marijuana you want. But you can't go to church. Gosh darn it. Now, why is that? Someone please tell me. Nobody can give me a reasonable answer. And in the States, they got churches closed, but all these people are out protesting. Nobody says a word about that. You know, they just say, well, stay at home, you know, unless you're protesting. Just complete, like, it's insanity. It's absolutely insanity. I feel like I went to bed one night and I woke up in bizarro world. Really. And you know what? It gets worse and worse and worse every day. I keep thinking, you know what? It's going to start getting better, and people are going to realize how ridiculous things are, and things are going to start fitting into place. And then the next day happens, and just more insanity. Now, I'm not saying that I don't believe that people are going to be arrested, people are going to be held accountable, because I actually do believe that. I do believe that. But I just, it boggles my mind where we are as a country and the thinking or lack thereof. I've just never seen anything like it, and hope I never do. All right, let's go back now. And now I'm not going to read this, but I'm just going to, because we know a lot about this already. She knows everything. Jeffrey Epstein, arrested pimp, is set to fully corroborate with the FBI and will be naming names. And I wanted to show you that she is cooperating with the FBI and she is talking. So I can bet that there's a whole bunch of people that are nervous. Madonna, Lady Gaga, Oprah, Kevin Spacey, Will Smith. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The two really bad, Mishel Wolf, that really, really bad comedian that wants to celebrate her abortion. And the other one, Kathy Griffin, is it? Yeah, the one that held up the head of, yeah, her. A lot of these, Clinton, I mean, Katy Perry, she's been there. Woody Allen, boy, a lot. Stephen Colbert, Ellen. Yep. Maxwell was arrested Thursday morning in the small town of Bradford, New Hampshire, where she has been residing in a $1 million estate. All right. Well, there's nothing new here, except I wanted to let you know that she is fully cooperating. So, speaking to The Sun, Epstein's former employer, Stephen Hoffenberg, said the pedophile's ex-girlfriend, Maxwell, knows everything and will totally cooperate after her arrest. It says Ghislaine Maxwell will be fully cooperating with the FBI in its child sex probe, and some of the world's most powerful people, including Prince Andrew, might be very worried. Oh, I bet he is. Jeffrey Epstein's former mentor, Stephen Hoffenberg, has claimed. U.S. Attorney Lisa Bloom, who represents one of Maxwell's accusers, said all others accused of enabling Jeffrey Epstein's predations must immediately be brought to justice as well. And I agree with that, certainly. Yeah, so I don't think she's not getting away with it. I think we were all wondering, okay, why is this that she hasn't been arrested yet? Well, I think that Southern District of New York guy that they got rid of, and I think that has a lot to do with it, because he was sitting on some really major stuff. So not so much anymore. Okay. Says the staff, this is interesting, staff members who worked in Jeffrey Epstein's New York City mansion for close to a decade are seen posing alongside Hollywood stars, political heavyweights, and even a few royals. So, yeah, this is not going to go well. Oh, and there's Clinton, of course. And, well, look at that. There's Fergie. I have no idea who that is. Hillary Swank? Name sounds familiar, but I know she's acted in movies, but... Oh, and there's, John Kerry. And that's not interesting. All sorts of people. Yeah. Well, not going to go so well for them, is it? You do the crime, you got to do the time. All right. Yeah. Oh, yes. This is going to make you mad, too. I'm not trying to make you mad. It's just the way it worked out. Harris County DA to drop charges against more than 600 Houston protesters. Now, how do you feel about that? Because I think it sucks like a Hoover. That's what I think. And I'm not going to read all this, but, all the people that were arrested during the protests in Houston, yeah, all the charges are dropped. Yep. How do you like that? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't like it very much. And this is bizarre right here. And this is going to be the last thing because I do have to call it a night. I'll be back tomorrow. Statue of Jeffrey Epstein mysteriously appears in Albuquerque. Now, how weird is that? It's not like, there's not like everybody has the ability to, make a statue in their garage or anything. It's just the most bizarre thing ever. Well, maybe not ever, but it is a little bizarre. Albuquerque, New Mexico, a bronze statue of Jeffrey Epstein appeared in downtown Albuquerque Wednesday. It's not clear who created the statue or why it was placed in front of City Hall. Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller said he didn't know who was responsible for the statue. It was removed Wednesday morning. A plaque on the statue said it was provided to Bernalillo County by the Antlion, I'm not sure, Entertainment Art Collective. It's bizarre. It's out there. And it says Jeffrey Epstein, Jeffrey, January 20th, 1953 to August 10th, 2019, was an American financier who started as a teacher and worked his way up from a low-level assistant to one of being the top financial advisors in the USA. Yeah, he had one client. One. He had a home in New Mexico, Zorro Ranch. He was also a rapist who died in prison. Court cases. It's got all his court cases there. So it's not like they're saying he's some wonderful guy. But why would they do that? Why would somebody put a statue there of him? It's a little out there. Epstein was a convicted sex offender who had a home in New Mexico. He died after being found unconscious in a New York jail cell. Yeah, sure he did. Okay. Anyway, I just thought that was bizarre. Do any of you that live in New Mexico know anything about this? Have you heard anything? Have they got to the bottom of this? Have they solved the riddle? It's a bronze statue. Those things are heavy. And who made it? Not the cheapest thing in the world to make a statue. Not that I've ever tried. And I'm pretty sure I never will. But I'm just saying. All right. Well, you know what? I really want to keep going because I have so much. But I've been going for about an hour. And, yeah. I really want to see the eclipse. I'm just sounding whiny now, aren't I? I'm just like a WSM, a whining, sniveling malcontent tonight. I don't know why. Probably because we're in the middle of a heat wave here, and it has been so hot for this area. It's like, well, it was like well over 100 today, and at night, usually in Canada, in the summertime, it goes down to, it cools down where you need a little sweater, or like a little summer sweater or something in the evenings if you're out. And these evenings, no, it's still up in the 70s, like in the middle of the night. That's unheard of here. So it's bizarre. And we had no spring whatsoever. We had snow one week and we were in shorts the next. Literally. Just absolutely bizarre. And our lawns are all burned up like I used to see in the South. You know, in the South in the summer, all the lawns get to be that lovely shade of yellow. And we're seeing that up here. And usually everything is just so lush, and I don't know. We're living in very, very bizarre times. Very bizarre times. And I have only just scratched a tiny, tiny bit of the surface of the news. There's so much more, and there's so much more going on tonight even. So please stay safe out there. Really, stay safe. Keep your eyes open and be on alert. There are people that have very nefarious things planned for this country, and we need to be alert to be sure they don't happen. And the most important thing to do, of course, is pray. So, I know I'm looking like a little tramp here in my shirt, but really you can't see anything, I hope. All right. So, and there's half of my cat in the, Xander is looking very strangely at the wall. Oh, he's looking at a little ant crawling up the wall. Wow. When you're a cat, an ant is a big deal. That's entertainment for as long as the ant shall live. It will entertain the cat until she loses her patience and eats it. So, such is life. It's the circle of life. All right. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow and with more news because I know there'll just be a ton more, and I've got so much more I could even get to tonight, but you know, I've got to leave something for tomorrow. So there you go. I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a great evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and please keep seeking the truth because deception bites. I appreciate you guys as listeners, and I just remembered that I forgot something very important. I want to mention the following people because they make this show possible. Coffee donors, Driver, which is an interesting name. Not sure how they came up with that moniker, but maybe they're a driver. I don't know. Anon, another Anon, Lorraine, I'm not sure. Lorraine maybe? Or Larine. I don't know. Let's all take a vote. How do you think it's pronounced? And Snorthrop. Now that's a cool name. I like that. And Patreon, Diane Haney increased her pledge. And William J. Oh, here's another name I'm going to mangle. Reinecke? Am I close? We can take a vote on that too. How do you think that's pronounced? All right, now we're done. So thank you guys. Really, I will be back tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to bringing you some good stuff. All right. Good night, guys.